In this country, plenty of men and women will drive miles for a good burger. Which one, though, is the best?
One number, that is where this starts. $18. That is what a Big Mac combo costs you right now at McDonald's. A burger, some fries, a soda, $18. And the thing that should make your stomach drop is not even the price. It is the fact that the burger is smaller than it was 5 years ago. The price went up, the burger went down, and they are counting on you not noticing because you are already in the drive-thru and your order is already on the screen. Here is what this video is about. The fast food burger industry is a $14 billion conversation happening entirely without you. Behind the signs and the slogans and the commercials where everything looks enormous and glistening and perfect, there are franchise contracts and private equity playbooks and federal lawsuits and inspection reports that would make you set your lunch down. We went through all of it. The court filings, the Reddit threads from people who worked these kitchens, the financial disclosures, the food safety databases, and what came out the other side is this video. 7 chains where ordering a burger is somewhere between a gamble and a mistake. Then 7 chains where someone actually still gives a damn about what they hand you. And the chain sitting at the very top of the best list is owned by the same corporation that runs KFC and Taco Bell. That reveal alone is worth sticking around for. Just so we are clear about something before we get into it, everything here is opinion and entertainment. We are not your doctor, we are not a food safety regulator, we are not your lawyer. Do your own research. These are our findings, our takes, our conclusions from public information. Now let us get into it. Worst number 7, McDonald's. The golden arch that became a golden cage. Close your eyes for 1 second. Go back. The Happy Meal box. The toy. The smell of those fries before you even opened the bag. For most of us, McDonald's was not just food, it was a reward system. Report card days, road trips, the first restaurant your kid pointed at from the back seat with complete conviction. That is not an accident. McDonald's spent 50 years engineering exactly that emotional response. Now here is how they are collecting on it. Between 2018 and 2025, McDonald's accumulated over 300 documented child labor violations. In May of 2023, a franchise in Louisville, Kentucky was fined $212,000 for employing a 10-year-old on overnight fryer shifts, not a teenager, a 10-year-old, cleaning fryers at 1 in the morning. A shareholder coalition demanded an independent audit. McDonald's sent them a polite letter and moved on. The corporate structure is built for exactly this outcome. McDonald's points at the franchisee. The franchisee points at whoever was doing the scheduling. Nobody at the top of the org chart loses a dollar. $25 billion in annual revenue and the royalty checks kept clearing regardless. Workers on Reddit, current and former, have been describing the beef in ways we cannot fully repeat here. One of the more printable descriptions used the phrase dog slop. That was the charitable version. So we have got a 10-year-old on the fryer, we have got corporate pointing everywhere but at itself, and we have got employees describing the raw product in terms that should give you pause. If you genuinely must order here, and we understand sometimes the options are limited, use the app. The $5 meal deal exists. And for the burger specifically, the McDouble. 2 smaller patties, lower price point, highest grill turnover on the menu. Less time sitting under a heat lamp. That is the least bad option they have got. But make no mistake about what you are accepting when you accept it. Worst number 6, Burger King. The Whopper that lied to your face. Remember when fast food was a deal? A full Whopper meal in 2000 cost you about $5. Today, you're looking at closer to $15, sometimes more, depending on the market. The slogan was, "Have it your way," the most customer-forward pitch in the history of fast food advertising. The whole proposition was that you were in control. Here is what they did not tell you. Since 2017, every Burger King advertisement has shown a Whopper that is approximately 35% larger than what actually arrives on your tray. A class action lawsuit was filed. Burger King tried to have it dismissed. A federal judge refused in May of 2025. The case is still active. And here's the part you need to hear directly. Their actual legal defense, on record in a federal courtroom, with lawyers present, is that the food in their advertisements is an artistic representation, that the photographs are not meant to depict the product being sold. They said that, out loud, in federal court, in front of a judge. Burger King has been in business since 1953. That was the best argument they had. The parent company is Restaurant Brands International, $7.2 billion in annual revenue. Behind them sits 3G Capital, the private equity firm that bought Burger King in 2010. The playbook is simple and documented. Cut costs, sell franchises, collect royalties, repeat, until the thing is a hollow shell of whatever it used to be. They ran this exact script on Tim Hortons. They are running it here. Since 2023, over 800 Burger King franchises have filed for bankruptcy. 57 locations in Florida and Georgia alone filed Chapter 11 in April of 2025, carrying $37 million in debt. If you end up at Burger King, the Whopper Jr. is your best option. Smaller patty, more grill turnover than the full Whopper, less time sitting under a lamp. Grilled chicken is the even safer call if you're not committed to a burger specifically. At least Burger King is transparent about being a corporation maximizing a brand. Our next entry built its entire reputation on a specific, visible promise, and then, quietly, stopped keeping it. Worst number 5. Steak and Shake. How one man dismantled a legend. The name is The Contract. That is not a figure of speech. Steak and Shake put both promises directly in the name. Fresh hand-smashed steak burgers made in front of you, from beef that was never frozen. For decades, there was a glass partition. You could stand there and watch them make it. That transparency was not decoration. It was the entire point of the brand. The partition was the proof. Then, Sardar Biglari got involved. He is an activist investor who bought control of the chain through Biglari Holdings in 2008. What followed was a methodical dismantling of everything that made the brand worth visiting. More than 200 locations have closed since 2018. The chain went from 415 restaurants to under 300. The dine-in model, the one where you watch the burger being made through the glass, gutted in favor of a drive-thru that looks like every other drive-thru in America. And the beef. Former employees described the shift away from fresh beef during the bankruptcy restructuring. One of them put it with remarkable clarity. Frozen, since the bankruptcy, used to be fresh smashed and you could see it through the glass. Now it is just the logo. Here is the detail that really lands. While 200 locations were closing and the brand was collapsing, Biglari Holdings disclosed executive compensation for Sardar Biglari himself at over $1.1 million in 2024. Revenue dropped from over $200 million to roughly $50 million. That is not a rough patch. That is a brand being disassembled one closing at a time while someone pockets the checks. If you are near a location still running the original dine-in model with fresh beef, go. Watch them make it. Order the single patty. The thinner smash gets the best crust, and that crust is still the best thing they make. Drive-through only location? Skip it entirely. They kept the sign. That is about all they kept. Worst number 4. Red Robin. Gourmet is just a word on a sign. It says gourmet right there. Gourmet burgers and brews. That word is doing an extraordinary amount of heavy lifting for a chain currently drowning in debt. In 2024, Red Robin lost $77 million. Not revenue loss. They are carrying $187 million in total debt. In February of 2025, they needed an emergency cash injection of $8.5 million just to stay current on that debt. Not to grow, not to source better beef, not to improve anything, just to keep the lights on. That is what is happening behind the sign that says gourmet. A company hemorrhaging money at that scale does not upgrade its sourcing. It cuts it. Red Robin disclosed a shift to 20-pound case patties. Bulk buy, mass-produced, shipped in. Workers on Reddit described it in 2 words that tell you everything. Cisco patties. That is the full menu description for a chain whose legal name contains the word gourmet. The gap between what the menu photography promises and what actually arrives on your tray has become a running joke, with an audience of customers who are also the punchline. If you are watching sodium, or you are pregnant, or you are ordering for someone who needs to be careful about nutritional load, Red Robin's signature burgers are not where you want to be. The numbers do not match the name. Gourmet was always just a word on a sign. Nobody was ever legally required to honor it. The only honest value proposition Red Robin currently has is the bottomless fries. Order those. For the burger, pick the most basic option on the menu and treat it for what it is. A 20-pound case patty dressed up in the most expensive outfit they could put on it. Worst number 3, Jack in the Box, the chain that knew. This one is different from the others. This is not about financial mismanagement. This is not about a private equity firm squeezing margins. This is about a company that had information, knew what was in their food, and made the call to keep serving it anyway. January 1993. 4 children died. Not from something freak, not from something unforeseeable. From a hamburger they ordered at a Jack in the Box drive-thru. Washington state health officials had notified the company, then operating under the name Food Maker Incorporated, that their beef was being cooked below safe temperature thresholds. Jack in the Box was aware. They kept the locations running. The beef tested at 430 E. coli colony-forming units per 100 grams of meat. The acceptable level for safe human consumption is 0. 732 people got sick. 171 were hospitalized. 4 children died. Food safety attorney Bill Marler, who has spent his entire career on cases exactly like this one, was involved in the legal proceedings. The court's finding, drawn from the public record, was that Jack in the Box ignored safety rules. That is what the courts found. This case rewrote food safety law in the United States. New protocols for ground beef handling were created specifically because of what Jack in the Box did and did not do. The company that made those protocols necessary is currently operating over 2,200 locations. Independent food safety analysts have continued to flag Jack in the Box in post-outbreak assessments based on documented inspection history. A culture that once looked at information and decided to keep serving anyway leaves a mark. It leaves an institutional fingerprint. If you must eat here, the Jumbo Jack is their highest volume item, which means highest grill turnover and least time sitting. Go during peak hours. If anything about what arrives seems off, texture, temperature, smell, leave it on the tray. This chain already showed you what it does when it has information and chooses its own direction. Worst number 2, Wendy's. Fresh, never frozen. Except, what does fresh, never frozen actually mean? Not what the commercials say, not what is printed on the cup. What does it mean legally, specifically as the Wendy's corporate team wrote it when they made it the center of their entire identity? Fresh, never frozen applies to beef patties in the contiguous United States and select markets including Alaska and Canada, Hawaii excluded, United States territories excluded, military bases overseas excluded. So if you are a service member stationed in Germany and you want a fresh Wendy's burger, Wendy's corporate has a message for you. And that message is not covered under this slogan. Read that back one more time. The Wendy's company generated nearly $2 billion in revenue last year. Their marketing department built an entire brand identity around a freshness promise they knew had geographic carve-outs written into the legal language from the jump. Before the campaign launched, the asterisk existed before the ink was dry. Then there is the kitchen problem. The franchise accountability structure mirrors what you saw at McDonald's and Burger King. Corporate controls the slogan. The individual franchise operator controls whether the food was handled correctly on any given shift on any given Friday night. Workers have described fresh beef that has been portioned, staged, and sitting. Not frozen, technically, but not the image on the cup either. In 2022, a Wendy's linked E. coli outbreak tied to romaine lettuce sickened at least 88 people across multiple states. More than 20 hospitalizations, documented by the CDC. The fresh beef was not the problem that time. The kitchen was. And the kitchen handling fresh beef is also handling everything else that crosses that counter. In the contiguous United States, the fresh beef is real. The Dave's single is your safest order. Smallest patty, highest turnover, least time sitting, peak hours. And if you are outside the contiguous US, just ask the counter staff directly. They know, they will tell you. Wendy's built its entire personality around a freshness promise and wrote in the exceptions before the campaign ever launched. Worst number 1, Sonic, the drive-in that private equity drove into the ground. There was a version of Sonic that earned the loyalty it gets. Car hops on roller skates, cherry limeades in the summer sun, eating in your car like it was 1957 and someone somewhere genuinely cared about the experience you were having. For people who grew up with Sonic, that memory is real. That Sonic existed. Here is who decided it was not worth maintaining. Inspire Brands, a private equity vehicle backed by Rourke Capital, paid $2.3 billion for Sonic in 2018. You may not have heard of Rourke Capital, but you have almost certainly eaten their food. They also own Arby's, Buffalo Wild Wings, Dunkin', Jimmy John's, and Baskin Robbins. One private equity firm. Half the fast food landscape. Here is why that matters specifically for Sonic. Rourke's pattern across its portfolio is documented and consistent. Acquire the brand, maintain the surface, reduce the operational costs you cannot see from a parking lot. Arby's quality complaints tracked upward after acquisition. Buffalo Wild Wings portion complaints followed the same curve. Sonic burger quality complaints on Reddit, Yelp, and Google have been running consistently since 2019. Same language across every platform. The gap between what the menu shows and what arrives. Same firm, same timeline, same playbook, different sign. What they kept and what they changed tells you everything. The car hops stayed, the slushes stayed, the roller skates stayed. Those are the brand equity they paid $2.3 billion to own. The things you can see, the things that photograph beautifully, the things that make you feel nostalgic enough to pull into the lot in the first place. What sits behind the window is where the optimization happens. One account on Reddit from a former employee described it plainly. By the time the car hop gets to your car, the burger has been sitting in a bag for anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes, depending on how slammed we are. That is just how the format works. And that is not a rogue location. That is the structural reality of every drive-in format everywhere. A counter handoff is immediate. A car hop delivery has a wait, packaging, and in Texas in July, that wait has a temperature. The nostalgia is real. Rourke Capital is also real. One of those things is earning its place in your life. One of them is not. The slushes are what Rourke left alone because they photograph well. Order one. Skip the burger. That was the dark half of this list. Real failures from companies with every resource to do better, and a consistent pattern of choosing the cheaper option instead. Drop a 7 in the comments if you made it through the countdown. Now let us flip the entire thing. Not every chain surrendered. Some of them are still doing it right. Fresh beef, real sourcing, kitchens run by people who actually care what comes out of them. No sponsorships, no brand deals. Just the ones that held the line. Best number 7, In-N-Out Burger. The chain that never forgot what it was. One chain in America has held a customer satisfaction score of 93 out of 100 for over a decade. 10 consecutive years ranked number 1 in employee satisfaction. Not tied, not in a photo finish. First, every year for 10 years straight. That chain has 4 items on the menu. 4, no limited time Sriracha Mango Crunch situation. No seasonal experiment that shows up in March and disappears before anyone even learns its name. 4 items, and they win every satisfaction survey put in front of them. Harry Snyder opened the first In-N-Out in 1948 in Baldwin Park, California. He also invented the drive-through speaker intercom, the very technology that every chain in the first half of this video uses to take your order. He built it for his customers, not for his margins. That instinct is still running through this company almost 80 years later, because nobody with a different set of instincts has ever been allowed near it. In-N-Out is owned by Lindsay Snyder, Harry's granddaughter. Private company, zero debt. Every acquisition offer ever made has been declined. No 3G capital, no Rourke capital. Nobody. The offer comes in, they say no, and they go back to making 4 things. Consistently ranks among the best fast food employers in the country on Glassdoor and Indeed. Higher than virtually every chain on the worst half of this list. People who want to be there make better food than people who do not. That is not a philosophy. That is a data point. Geography is the only real limitation. Western states only. If you are not near one, that is a genuine inconvenience, and we are sorry about it. Double, animal style. If you have never ordered animal style, that is the first thing you do when you walk through the door. Best number 6, Culver's. The best burger most of America still has not tried. How does a family from Prairie du Sac, Wisconsin, end up running the most underrated burger chain in the country? 1984. Craig and Leah Culver opened one restaurant with Craig's parents. Fresh beef sourced from family farms. Bun butter toasted to order. They called it a butter burger. They did not change it. 40 years later, they still have not. The satisfaction data is not subtle about it either. Culver's ranks number 1 for burger satisfaction among every chain in America, according to the American Customer Satisfaction Index. Above McDonald's, above Burger King, above Wendy's. That is not a Wisconsin Tourism Board talking. That is national consumer data. Food Republic named them the best burger chain in America, a chain the majority of the country has never been inside of. No private equity firm has shown up with a cost reduction playbook. The sourcing relationships are still with family farms. The butter burger is still butter toasted because nobody sold to anyone who would optimize that out of existence. And when nobody sells, nobody gets to run the extraction playbook on the thing you build. Turns out that is genuinely rare now. If you are in the Midwest right now, you are probably a little annoyed that we are explaining Culver's to people as if it is a discovery. We get it. The rest of the country has simply been out here not knowing what it was missing for 40 years. Order the Culver's Deluxe. Get the cheese. A butter-toasted bun does something to fresh beef that no frozen patty can come close to replicating. Best number 5, Five Guys. 5 Guys and a promise kept. In 1986, Jerry Merle gave his sons a choice: college fund or restaurant. They chose the restaurant. The five guys in the name are Jerry and his four sons: Matt, Jim, Chad, and Ben. That is not a brand story invented by a marketing agency. That is what actually happened, and the food reflects it. Every patty is fresh. Every burger is hand-formed. 1,700 locations around the world, and not bad for a family that turned down the tuition money. Full transparency here, because we have been upfront before on this channel. The price is real. A burger and fries pushing $15, $16 is a legitimate number, and we are not going to look away from it. We have flagged that before, still flag it now, but this video is specifically about ownership and sourcing, and whether the company making your burger had any reason at all to cut corners on what goes in it. Under that lens, Five Guys belongs right here. Family business, no private equity involvement, fresh beef, made to order. The price is high and the integrity of what you are getting is also high. That trade-off is yours to make. Here is the context the price actually needs though. McDonald's is charging $18 for a combo. They have been quietly shrinking since 2018. Burger King is in federal court arguing that their advertising photography is artistic representation. $15 for fresh beef from a family operation with zero private equity involvement is a different conversation when you look at it from that angle. Order the little hamburger, not the regular. The patty-to-bun ratio on the regular tips toward the bun. The little is the correct geometry. The fries that overflow the bag are the correct decision every single time. Best number 4, Whataburger. The brand private equity could not kill. Ask a Texan to name the best burger in America. Do not expect a recommendation. Expect a defense. Whataburger inspires the kind of loyalty where someone will look you directly in the eye and tell you that you are simply wrong if you disagree with them. There is no debate. There is only Whataburger and then everything else. Harmon Dobson started it in 1950 in Corpus Christi, Texas. One stand. Make a burger so large it takes 2 hands to hold and so good that people come back. He named it after his own reaction when he first tasted it: Whataburger. 75 years later, the patty is still larger than any comparable fast food option. The beef is still fresh. The bun is still toasted. Here is where the story goes somewhere unexpected. BDT Capital Partners bought a majority stake in Whataburger in 2019. If you have been following this video closely, you know exactly what that sentence typically means. You watched it happen to Burger King with 3G Capital. You watched it happen to Steak and Shake with Big Larry Holdings. You watched Rourke Capital run the extraction play on Sonic, while the car hops kept their roller skates on so nobody would notice. And then Whataburger did not collapse. Locations grew past 1,000. Customer satisfaction scores held. The quality did not get extracted. BDT recognized what made the brand valuable and made the call to leave it alone. That is the exception in private equity restaurant ownership. We are noting it as exactly that. One exception does not change the pattern. But right now, in 2026, Whataburger is still delivering what it always promised. Order the patty melt or the Whataburger with jalapenos and pepper jack. And if you are hitting the morning window, the honey butter chicken biscuit. Not a burger. It would be genuinely wrong not to mention it anyway. Best number 3, Shake Shack, the plot twist nobody saw coming. In 2004, a man named Danny Meyer opened a hot dog stand in Madison Square Park in New York City. He did not need the revenue. He was already running some of the most critically acclaimed restaurants on the planet, including a 3 Michelin star dining room that sat among the best in the world. He opened a hot dog stand in a park, and that stand became Shake Shack. Here is the part nobody ever tells you. Danny Meyer sourced the beef the way he sources ingredients for his tasting menu restaurants. The Shake Shack patty uses a custom blend from Pat LaFrida, the same artisan butcher supplying high-end steakhouses across New York City. The blend is proprietary. It was designed specifically for how a smash burger cooks at high heat. You have been eating fine dining beef from a fast casual counter. You just did not know what to call it. That is not a marketing angle. That is the actual supply chain. Same butcher, different price point, 500 locations and still growing. Premium sourcing maintained across the whole chain because the instinct behind it came from a chef and not a cost analyst. When a chef decides to scale, the sourcing decisions reflect what they know about food. When a private equity firm decides to scale, the sourcing decisions reflect what they know about margins. Those are different things, and the burger tastes like exactly the difference between them. Order the Shack burger with cheese. Simpler build. Let the blend do the work. The Shack Stack, a cheeseburger and a portobello mushroom fry stacked together, is tasting menu thinking applied to a single-digit price point. Both are the right call, depending on how hungry you are. Best number 2, Freddy's frozen custard and steak burgers. The hidden craft. There is a right way and a wrong way to cook a fast food burger. Most chains do not actually know the difference. Freddy's quietly, out of Wichita, Kansas, built 600 locations around knowing the difference in precise technical terms. The technique is called the smash. Once you understand it, you will not look at a fast food patty the same way again. When fresh beef hits a screaming hot flat top and gets pressed thin and hard, something happens that you cannot fake with a frozen patty. The surface caramelizes, the flavor concentrates. Chefs call it the Maillard reaction. Regular people call it that thing that made this burger taste different from everything else I have had this week. Freddy's built their entire operation around that single moment on a hot, flat-top surface. Scott Redler and the Freddy Simon family founded the chain in 2002. Family founded, held that way for over 20 years until Rourke Capital, yes, that Rourke Capital, acquired them in 2023. So here's another private equity chapter. Except the quality is holding. The beef is still fresh and never frozen. The smash method has not changed. The custard is still made daily. The founding team stayed on. This is the same column as Whataburger. Private equity that is not extracted yet. Watch this space carefully, but right now, in 2026, Freddy's is still delivering exactly what it promised when the Simon family was running it. A thinner patty on a screaming hot flat top gets the crust that makes the method worth talking about. You cannot get that crust with a frozen patty. Physics will not allow it. Neither will anyone at Freddy's for now. Order the Freddy's Original Double, and do not treat the frozen custard as an afterthought. It is exceptional, and it would be borderline criminal to walk out of a Freddy's without one. Best number 1, the Habit Burger Grill, the winner. Nobody saw coming. 2 separate national rankings, 2 different methodologies. Consumer Reports named it the best fast food burger in America, USA. Today's 10 best list put it at the top of the entire country, above In-N-Out, above Five Guys, above every single chain we have talked about tonight. Same winner, both times. And now, who owns it? The chain that won both of those rankings is owned by Yum Brands, the same Yum Brands that owns Kentucky Fried Chicken and Taco Bell. Take a moment with that. In this video, you watched Restaurant Brands International hollow out Burger King from the inside. You watched Biglari Holdings dismantle Steak and Shake one closing at a time. You watched Rourke Capital run the extraction playbook on Sonic, while making sure the car hops still wore skates so the nostalgia stayed visible. Corporate ownership has been the mechanism of quality destruction in nearly every single case. And then there is Yum Brands and the Habit Burger Grill. They acquired the chain in 2020 and left it alone. The Habit started in 1969 in Santa Barbara. One restaurant, char-broiled fresh beef made to order, fresh-baked buns. A California institution for over 50 years. When Yum bought it, the char-broiling stayed, the fresh beef stayed, and the culture that built the reputation stayed intact. That smokiness you get from char-broiling is something no flat top can replicate. Consumer Reports voters chose it above every other option in the country. Go find out why. The double char with caramelized onions is the order. The tempura green beans are not optional. That is the list. 7 to forget, 7 to remember. We started with one number, $18. Here is what it is actually telling you. Every chain on the worst half has one thing in common. Someone ran the optimization playbook until there was nothing worth eating left. Every chain on the best half has one thing in common. Someone said no. That is your filter. Who owns it? When did they last raise the price without improving the product? Is the beef actually fresh? 3 questions that will tell you more than any commercial ever will. Best burger you have had at a chain and the one you are never going back to. Drop both in the comments. Subscribe. More investigations are coming. You have been paying too much for too little for too long. Now you know the difference. Use it.